I think I am live. Okay, so it's been 4 months since my last live stream or video, whatever you want to call it. And I guess I got distracted with blogging. Blogging is so much easier and less confrontational, but I think this is good for me. Okay, so this is episode 3. Today I will discuss why I love electronic music. My previous episode, oh, the cursor. Okay, never mind. The previous episode was about me studying composition. It might give you some context, may not be necessary, but today I will discuss my love for electronic music. So I guess we have to start with my childhood. I used to hear a lot of Linkin Park growing up. I think that was because of my sister. She used to listen to a lot of rock and I guess alternative music. So she exposed me to all of this. And I'm bringing this up because it's important with how it's important because your early environment defines your later life, as you may already know. It's a common concept in psychology. And so I feel like listening to all that music in my earbuds or whatever, or headphones, from an early age defined some expectations I had about how music should sound. So it's about acoustics, dynamics for sure, because a lot of this music is heavily compressed, and even the kinds of timbres I expect to hear in music, like all of these things are significantly impacted with your through your early experience, right? And there's other things as well, like how your habits with music, like the habits you have with listening to music, your ability to repeat or rewind these things or isolate different sections in music. I used to do that all the time, and I still do. And I feel like that is largely because of my early environment. And that's just how I grew up listening to music. And then there's other things like social factors and, whether you listen to music with other people or whether you hear live music. All of these things really matter. In the previous episode, I kind of brought up how I mostly made music in my room, as many people do nowadays. Oh, that kid makes beats in his bedroom or something. But yeah, I guess it didn't occur to me that all of this was because of my early environment. All of these habits and preferences for music on an acoustic level stayed with me, and they even affect me today. So in my late teens and early 20s, I'm still in my early 20s, but I started listening to music live, in concert halls and all of these other live venues. And I always felt slightly weird listening to music that way because, again, my expectations were completely different because of my early music habits. I think all of this is significant, and it affects my relationship with not just like acoustic music, but definitely like electronic music as well, because that's just what I heard growing up. So how do people find the music they love? I guess it's possible to imagine that some people find it through their family, like I did. Like my sister introduced me to a lot of that music. I'm sure you've heard stories like, oh, my dad was a jazz pianist, and my mom was a jazz pianist, and my uncle was a jazz pianist. So what's the likelihood of this individual listening to jazz or even becoming a jazz musician later in their life? It's pretty high, right? Well, I discovered EDM, which was like the first genre of music I really, I guess, loved through Facebook, because I love the internet. I guess I spend a lot of time and have spent a lot of time on the internet. So this is how I found my favorite genre, I guess, growing up. I heard this song. It's by Archie. I guess he's not, or whoever, they aren't particularly famous anymore. But this song was just so influential. Like I heard it and I was so impressed with everything. It sounded so melodious and exciting. It's a core memory, I guess you can say. But I found it on someone's Facebook. I guess it was a post. And I eventually reached out to him. He was like, I want to say he was maybe in grade 11 or something. And I was in grade 7. And so I texted him, hello. And then, yeah, I just asked him for music recommendations. And he gave me a long list. He gave me this list. And I never got through this list. I guess I'd never get through any long lists, even those lists that my composition professors gave me in school. Oh, listen to this 20th and 21st century music. It's hard to go through lists, but I found a few of these. And a few of these I really enjoyed, like Alesso, really nice. Swedish House Mafia, for sure. Stone, I really loved. Dead Mouse, definitely. Like all of these artists, in my view, had a very melodious sound to them, and I was really attracted to melody growing up. It just felt worthwhile. I really enjoyed melodious music. And then because of my early musical training, I decided to produce my own music. So this might have been my first venture into composition, I guess. Making beats, I think it's a valid form of composing music. And as the screenshot suggests, it was hard. It wasn't easy because it was new to me, but I kept doing it. Eventually I made a SoundCloud, like many people do. I call myself Castronaut 2000, which is a weird name. There's a story, but I won't get into it. But I guess as a side note, it's interesting that so many electronic musicians come up with these abstract pseudonyms. I don't know what the reason for that is. I guess my speculation would be, electronic music is abstract and very non-realist in some ways. So are we trying to come up with these abstract names to embody the same spirit? I don't know. Probably not, because so many other people who aren't electronic musicians do that as well, I can think of people in rock and metal and things like that who have their own pseudonyms, but I guess it's an interesting social phenomenon. I want to speak a little bit about personality traits and music making. So generally, when you tell someone, oh, I'm a musician, or oh, I really enjoy music or something, I think for a lot of people there's this image of an extrovert out there, putting themselves out there and making loud music, and they're like a people person, and they're in front of big crowds and all of this. And this is of course true for so many musicians. For many musicians, it's all about performance and sharing and connecting with other people. But it wasn't like that for me. I guess I'm an introvert, and I guess I also have a high tolerance for being able to work at a desk alone for a long time. It's just something that comes naturally to me. And that's what I did, I kind of used my introversion as a way to make all that electronic music. And there's so many other jobs in the music industry, I guess you can say, which are suitable for introverts. So like if you produce music, or if you compose, if you I don't know, do media scoring jobs, like all of these things are probably more suitable for people who can work alone at a desk. And I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is electronic music is like that. You don't need to be connected to a lot of people. You can just use your computer, and maybe the final product is going to be impressive enough. I guess it wasn't always like that in history, because many people composed for other musicians, and so they had to, negotiate aspects of performance with them. And then I guess if you're a performing musician, then needless to say, you're going to find an audience, or you're going to, play with other musicians. But if you're not like that, and I guess if you happen to be born in the 21st century or 20th century as well, you can just work on a computer and make your music. I guess that's kind of unique in a way. And it also contributes to why electronic music and I get along so well. And so yeah, when I think of all those beats I made when I was growing up, it was a good time, It was a healthy habit, I guess. And yeah, I discovered a lot of things about what I wanted to do, what I thought I was good at, and all of these things. But eventually, by the time I was in my final year of high school, so grade 12, I I found EDM a little bit boring. The whole experience of producing music and beats had become jaded to me. I had also been exposed to many other kinds of music by that point through my education in school. And so I kind of stopped producing music. But at the same time, I recognized that electronic music was such an important experience in my life, and I still envisioned myself participating in it in the future. So when I applied to music school, I kind of imagined myself making some kind of a personal brand of electronic music. I don't want to say brand, but just something personal with it. So it stayed in my mind, I think that was really my main ambition as I went to music school. And so, I applied to Berkeley and I got in, and then I applied to the EPD major, which stands for Electronic Production and Design. And I got accepted, so I was really happy about that. And it's kind of hard for me to explain what EPD is. I guess it was, but the way I would describe it is you can make electronic music, or you can do a lot of programming, or you can develop software and hardware and all of these things. You can do sound design for video games or TV shows, movies, and all those things. It's a pretty broad major, but I guess I was interested in composing my own electronic music. And here's a little excerpt from my application. It's hard to read. I guess I will read it. Okay. To be honest, my goals with EPD have little to do with live performance or anything of that sort. I think I am interested in the production of sound exclusively. I want to create totally unique sounds and manipulate them in the most creative ways. Ultimately, though, I want to use them to complement complex compositions that would be good enough as far as the basic elements are concerned. I suppose I place a firmer importance on the basic music elements, rhythm, melody, harmony, in a composition than how they may be presented in an electronic or acoustic manner. However, I would like to be proficient in both music and sound manipulation. Although acoustic music is nice, I think the distant future does not hold too many demands for clarinet duets or saxophone quintets in the future. I suppose electronic sounds are the future. Okay, I need a break from that cringe. I guess some of this is still true. But saxophones, I don't know why I was so antagonistic towards these acoustic instruments. I love saxophones, I love Dexter Gordon, tenor saxophones in general. We don't have to get into this, but I guess this was my reasoning, for pursuing electronic music at the time. So, I went through my EPD courses, and some of those earlier courses involved digital audio workstations, which I assume most of you are familiar with. You make beats and get accustomed to production techniques, and you develop your workflow and all of these things. But I guess the most important discovery I made was programming. It wasn't a discovery. I will get into that later, but uh, this is a screenshot of Max. It's a visual programming language, and that's the thing you learn in your first week of taking the Max course, and I really loved it. I felt like it naturally appealed to me, and then I realized that it was possible to compose music with programming concepts. Like, that was just so mind blowing to me. I think that realization really came with this suite of 9 generative Csound pieces. They're called the Csound Haiku, and they were composed by Ian McCurdy. That's IAIN. I didn't know this for a long time, but Irish people have a slightly different way of um, naming names, I guess. So Ian is, that the spelling's different in case you're going to look him up. Even like Owen, I believe some people spell it as EOIN. It's interesting. Didn't know that. Think the first time I read Owen in an Irish way, I said Eoin or something. It's not important. But anyways, the Csound haiku pieces were so important because the music sounded so open, and it had this improvisatory quality to it, which I was blown away by, because this is like coded music. How does it sound so open and free and musical? I would recommend checking it out if you can. And in fact, I got so impressed by it, and the whole thing resonated with me so much that I eventually even presented this talk on coding music. So that's from the Society of Composers Club. I'm presenting my Csound work in the summer of 2023. I spent a lot of time composing things in Csound, and I decided, hey, you know what? This is actually really interesting. And I want to share what I've learned and how this has affected my journey as a composition major, or as a composer in general, as a musician. But I just didn't really piece together the reasons for why the whole programming thing appealed to me. And then I remembered, oh wait, I took computer science when I was in school. So when I was in grade 9, grade 10, 11, 12, I took computer science through all of it. And I was pretty good at it. In fact, I had a better grade for computer science than music. And I guess I learned how to think procedurally, logically, think ahead, or concurrently, abstractly, recursively. And all these things carried over to my, undergraduate life. And so I guess it's no surprise that programming and subsequently programming music appeal to me so much. It's because that's just how I'm wired, in my brain, and maybe that's why the whole thing just appeals to me. And I pursued it quite a bit. This is my capstone project, my EPD capstone project, and I basically composed a bunch of generative pieces, sort of like the Csound haiku, slightly different, but I did it in Max, and I really enjoyed it. It was a very fulfilling experience in my life, and I was supported by many people, and yeah, just really nice and satisfying. Everything I did for that project was just super important. I guess one special memory I have is meeting Martin Subotnick. So I signed up for his masterclass And I had studied his music, and it had resonated with me. And then I showed him some of my music, from my Bildungsroman. The piece I showed him in particular was Train Trip, and he heard it and he said, "Well, it's pretty good." And then he gave me a lot of feedback, but that was his opening and even closing comment. So it's such a nice memory. It's a special kind of validation, and it makes me believe that, hey, maybe what I'm doing isn't too bad. It's good, it's good what I'm doing. It was nice and it was important. So I guess I mentioned in my EPD application that, oh, I want to pursue the future or whatever by pursuing electronic music. I guess I don't really believe that anymore. I don't know if it really matters to me what the future holds. I guess at the moment, I feel like I ought to do the things that appeal to me on a more personal level. So it might be related to electronic music. I guess in the immediate future, certainly I want to pursue electronic music as much as I can, because the whole thing really appealed to me. So I hope that gives you perspective about why I love electronic music. I guess I could have mentioned why I love electronic music more and more. Like, you link back to your thesis statement at the end of each body paragraph. I didn't do that, but that's okay. You may be wondering, if you follow me on social media, oh, I thought, you played piano or something. In fact, someone I knew once texted me, and she was like, "Oh, wait, you do electronic music? I didn't really know that. I thought you were, primarily a pianist, because you keep posting all these videos of you playing piano. So I thought you were going to pursue piano playing." Well, I'm going to pursue it, I guess, for my own sake. But I guess I haven't spoken. Oh, my thumb. I guess I haven't spoken about my piano stuff yet. So that's what I'm going to speak about in my next episode. It's going to be about how playing the piano changed my life. There's a hierarchy, you see. I studied composition, I love electronic music, and then, oh, piano playing changed my life. I see that hierarchy in my own musical journey. Okay, thanks for watching. So, fun activity, I guess. I'm not good at telling stories, but I guess I can try. It's good to practice. So, this story is from when I was in 10th grade. This is completely unrelated to electronic music, by the way, but it's fine. So, I entered my school's library and I kept my bag near the front desk because you weren't allowed to take your bag inside. I guess they thought you would have stolen books. No teenagers steal books. Like, no one cares about books, I guess. But I was just doing that, and around the front desk there was a group of children. I guess they might have been elementary school kids, like really young. And there was a teacher of sorts. I say of sorts because I don't know if she was actually a teacher. She just seemed like this legendary visiting author type figure. I have no idea who she was, but she was there with the children. I guess she was talking to them about something. And we didn't know each other. We were just, we didn't know each other. But then I turned and I started walking towards the other end of the library, where all the. See, I lost track of the story. But yeah, I started walking to the other end of the library. But then she suddenly turns to me and asks me, "Are you a dog or are you a cat?" And I was just so confused. What an odd question. But anyways, I just looked at her, and then I guess she spoke for me on my behalf and said, "Oh, I guess you're a cat." And I don't even remember if I responded to her, because I don't know. It's an odd thing to ask anyone. But it took me a while to realize that I guess she was asking me if I was an extrovert or an introvert, because dogs can be very extroverted and things like that, and cats are introverted. I guess based on, well, I guess it is related to my electronic music journey, because if I am a cat, then I am able to sit at a desk for a long time and just do introverted things. Yeah, I guess that's the story. Uh, all right. Well, thanks for watching as always, and I'm going to wait for like 30 seconds because I feel the stream keeps cutting off um earlier than it should. Okay. Bye.